Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276 and free to air on Nigecomsat. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Maitama Tugar, has announced Nigeria's readiness to host the West African Examination Summit 2025 under the distinguished leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from June 20th to 21st, 2025 at the Abuja International Conference Center, AICC. Speaking during a media parley with journalists at the ministry's office in Abuja, the minister says the summit, which has its theme, West Africa Economic Summit, Unlocking Trade and Investment Opportunities in the Region, is designed to serve as a strategic platform for shaping the economic future of the sub-region. Global Television's correspondent Ramsey Enoch-Agbo reports.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Maitama Tugar, says the West African Economic Summit 2025 is a solution-oriented initiative that seeks to establish a harmonized trade policy framework to eliminate barriers to intra-African commerce and investment, and also to mobilize resources for critical infrastructure, energy, and logistics to improve the free movement of goods and people.
WISE 2025 is a solutions-oriented initiative that seeks to establish a harmonized trade policy framework to eliminate barriers to intra-African commerce and investment, promote inclusive economic growth with particular attention to empowering women, youth, and small and medium enterprises.
The summit will feature a high-level dialogue between heads of state and business leaders, culminating in a joint communiqué that articulates shared regional priorities and concrete plan of action. The summit is to facilitate deliberate steps toward a prosperous, united, and globally competitive West Africa.
Summit highlights will feature the following key components: a presidential roundtable and CEO forum, a high-level dialogue between heads of state and business leaders, culminating in a joint communiqué that articulates shared regional priorities and a concrete plan of action.
Ramsey Enoch-Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has confirmed the death of 59 persons in a recent attack on Yelwata community by suspected herdsmen believed to have crossed over from neighboring Nasarawa State. Our correspondent Felicity Indere tells us more.
Governor Hyacinth Alia revealed that the casualty figure was confirmed after a physical head count conducted by security agencies in collaboration with families of the victims. He said all relevant security services held a joint meeting to ensure the accuracy of the figure released. Among the dead were military personnel and a civil defense officer who lost their lives while defending the community during the attack.
As we speak, the official reporting we have all received, and we compare notes. We had some meeting all through the night yesterday, and then this morning with a physical meeting as well. And the official figures, all security heads, was 59 with the head count, with the enlistment of the affected families and individuals. That is the basic.
Governor Alia also appreciated the support of his Nasarawa State counterpart, who shared intelligence that shed light on the incident. He confirmed that the attack also claimed the life of a woman on the Nasarawa side of the border. He made the remarks while receiving a report from the panel of inquiry on malicious activities in the Sankra Axis.
Where we've been having kind of a route into the state for these attacks is through Nasarawa State. There are specific points and areas and localities We know, based on security intel,
the Yerewata massacre is one of the deadliest attacks in recent times, highlighting the worsening security in border communities between Benue and Nasarawa states. From the government house in Makudi, Felicity Ndere, Global TV News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has contradicted Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia's claim that it were reprisals, officially confirming that over 200 people were killed in what it described as a cruel and calculated massacre. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, stated this in a press statement released through his special advisor on public affairs, Terence Kwanum. Akume, while reacting to the tragic killings in Yerewata and Dauda communities in Guma local government area, described the attack as mindless barbarism and totally unacceptable. In a related development, Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has arrived Yerewata town in Guma local government area of Benue State, where scores were killed in a coordinated attack. His visit followed the prolonged attacks on communities in the state by armed herders and bandits. General Musa is expected to meet with Governor Hyacinth Alia in the government house before his departure. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, arrived in Benue State and ordered the immediate deployment of additional tactical teams to the region following a wave of deadly attacks that has left scores dead. A brief statement posted by the Nigerian Police Force via X confirmed the development. The deployment comes amid mounting public outrage and calls on social media for the federal government to declare a state of emergency in Benue following a 2-day killing spree by suspected herders. Away from Benue State, suspected herdsman has launched a deadly attack on Seyange, a thief-dominated community in Obi local government area of Nasarawa State. The attackers reportedly killed the village head and abducted several residents during the raid. The gunmen stormed the agrarian community on motorbikes, unleashing terror and destruction, leaving many people injured and several homes deserted. Let's turn to other stories now, where the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has granted bail at a 2 billion naira to a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Halilu Yusuf, in a ruling, granted the bail after Emefiele was arraigned on an 8-count charge in which he is accused of, among others, unlawfully acquiring a housing estate comprising 753 units, allegedly stealing and taking control of billions of naira in proxy accounts. Justice Yusuf noted that Emefiele had been granted bail in 3 other criminal cases pending against him and that there was no evidence that he had jumped bail. The federal government has indicated that concerns over ground rent obligations involving several foreign embassies in the Federal Capital Territory will be addressed through established diplomatic processes. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Ebienfa, says the matter would be taken up with the Federal Capital Territory Administration and handled accordingly. The assurance followed reports that the Federal Capital Territory Authority might take enforcement action, including the possible sealing of 34 embassies over unpaid ground rent dating back to 2014. The Lagos State government has issued a warning to residents, especially those in low-lying areas and communities near rivers and lagoons, to remain vigilant as continued heavy rainfall is expected to trigger flash floods across the state. This was disclosed in a statement signed by the State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab. Wahab noted that recent forecasts from the state's weather stations show geostationary imagery indicating thunderstorms, widespread connective rainfall, and dense cloud cover over Lagos. You are watching the live broadcast of the News Cycle. When News Cycle returns, Nigeria rallies island nations for Nigeria's International Maritime Organization Council bid. Details coming shortly after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. In business, the President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Comrade Festus Osifo, has called on the federal government to investigate the shutting down of Port Harcourt and Warri refineries a few months after the resumed operation. The Pengassan president made this known while addressing journalists on critical issues impacting the nation's oil and gas sector. Godwin Sunday has details.
The President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Comrade Festus Osifo, called on the federal government to urgently rehabilitate Nigeria's 4 national refineries and consider investing majority shares to the private sector, adopting a model similar to the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas, NLNG.
We are calling on government and the handlers of the refineries, the management of NNPC Limited, to look at the full scope of the refinery, to look at the operational model of the refinery, and to yield to the time-tested call that we have made in Pengassan. Successive administrations in Pengassan has called on government at all levels, most especially because these are federation assets, to come together and ensure that our refineries are managed optimally.
The union proposed the creation of strategic petroleum product reserves across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones to mitigate fuel shortages and ensure a stable supply. He emphasized the need for long-term strategic planning in the energy sector.
Then, on the issues of pipeline vandalization, a lot of these companies, they have deployed private drones. A lot of these companies, they brought in security experts, even from abroad, on how the issues of pipeline vandalization could be curbed. Whereas in other countries, these are facilities that are protected by government. So government must be alive to its responsibility to ensure that the oil and gas infrastructures across the nook and cranny of Nigeria, they are well protected.
The union reiterated its commitment to advocating for the welfare of Nigeria's oil and gas workers and contributing to the development of a robust and sustainable energy sector. Godwin Sunday, reporting for Global Television News.
Nigeria has stepped up its diplomatic campaign for a seat on the International Maritime Organization (IMO) Council, as Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Adegboyega Oyetola held strategic talks with leaders of more island nations during the 2025 United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice, France. The meetings held on the sidelines of the global event were part of the country's secure into Category C of the organization's council later this year. The meetings underscore Nigeria's commitment to building alliances with countries that, though geographically distant, share common vulnerabilities and aspirations within the global maritime community. Nigeria has also recorded a third production decline in the first 5 months of 2025, dropping by 32,759 barrels per day, which indicates its inefficiencies in tackling issues surrounding investment, pipeline vandalism, and theft. Data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission showed Nigeria's production has fluctuated through the first 5 months of the year. This development also indicates that Nigeria has failed to meet its quota as set by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC) for 4 consecutive months after reaching the milestone last December and in January 2025. On the foreign scene, as Israel and Iran continue to exchange missiles, the European Commission has waded in, stating its stance on the conflict. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also made a case for Gaza to be effectively facilitated. Agbomofuegbe reports.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says she told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that diplomacy is ultimately best on Iran, but stopped short of calling for an immediate ceasefire.
Iran should never acquire nuclear weapons. So in the call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he described the situation We were both, of course, aligned in the fact that Iran should not have nuclear weapons without any question. Of course, I think a negotiated solution is in the long term the best solution.
She, however, made clear that in her telephone conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu, they both agreed that Iran should not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons.
I insisted and urged that humanitarian aid that is not reaching Gaza has to go into Gaza. He promised that this is the case and that this will be the case. So I will be working, coming back home from G7, on having a close look at the facts, where our humanitarian aid is, how it reaches Gaza, whether it gets into Gaza, what we can do to make sure that humanitarian aid reaches the people in Gaza.
Von der Leyen, who has been critical of Israel over its offensive in Gaza, placed the blame for the new conflict on Iran, pointing to the UN nuclear watchdog's finding earlier in the week that it was not in compliance with its obligations. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, says an embassy building in Tel Aviv sustained minor damage from a nearby Iranian missile strike, reporting no injuries to U.S. personnel. Iran unleashed a barrage of missiles on Israeli cities after Israel struck military targets deep inside Iran, with both sides threatening further devastation. Many gutted buildings in the coastal hub of Tel Aviv after Israel's army warned people to take cover from incoming Iranian missiles. Russia has announced the evacuation of several of its citizens from Iran and the temporary suspension of operations at its consulate in Tehran, citing escalating hostilities between Israel and Iran. The Russian embassy in Tehran stated via Telegram, adding that due to the current situation, the consular service of the embassy is temporarily suspending its activities. Meanwhile, it has also called on Russia's Civil Aviation Authority to suspend flights to Iran and Israel and also avoid the airspace, including that of Jordan and Iraq, until at least June 26th. United States President Donald Trump has warned Tehran not to strike any U.S. targets, just as he lauded Israel's offensive while denying Iranian allegations that the U.S. has taken part. Trump says if they are attacked in any way, shape or form, the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces will come down on them at levels never seen before. In sports, Al Hilal has increased their offer in a desperate attempt to sign Napoli's Victor Osimhen this summer. The figures could make Osimhen the highest earning footballer in Africa. The Saudi Pro League side have tabled a contract offer worth up to €50 million per year without bonuses in a bid to tempt the 26 years old. In another move, Turkish champions Galatasaray are reportedly optimistic about completing one of the boldest transfers in their history as they push to permanently sign Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen from Napoli. Sky Sports says the Istanbul Giants remains hopeful despite renewed interest from several top Premier League clubs, including Liverpool and Manchester United, who are said to have held internal discussions over a potential move despite growing interest from several top Premier League clubs in recent days. The Turkish champions are not backing down in their pursuit of the Nigerian international. Teen sensation Yusuf Quadri has etched his name into Nigerian squash history, becoming the first junior player to win both the Under-19 and senior men's title at the 4th edition of the Prime Atlantic Squash Tournament held at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos. The 17-year-old prodigy showcased remarkable stamina and skill, defeating Nigeria's number 3 ranked senior player Farouk Sulaiman 3-1 in the men's final, just hours after clinching a 3-1 victory over Joshua Daniel in the Under-19 final. Top-seeded Rafiat Abdulaziz also reaffirmed her dominance in the women's category, beating Faridat Soliu 3-1 to retain her title in a fiercely contested final. It marked her second consecutive win at the tournament. And that's it on Global TV News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276 and free to air. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.